you so much for this night. Thank you so much for everyone that came here today. Thank you for just your love and your grace and for another day that we have to just live a life and to praise you and to worship you, Lord. We thank you for your grace. We thank you for everything that you're doing in our life. And Lord, we just put this message in your hands, and I pray that Holy Spirit, you will speak through me. And we just put everything in your hands, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Awesome. So I do need the mic today, right? Do I need it? Yeah? Yes. Okay, cool. I was ready to. I don't like using mics sometimes. It feels really, really weird. Anyways, for those that were here last week, this is weird, like talking over here and over here. I'm like doing my head like that. For those that were here last week, we talked about, I think it was chapter 5, if I'm not mistaken. And there was 3 things that we talked about. We talked about the cross of Jesus will reinforce that God loves you. The cross of Jesus is a place that allows you to know that God understands your pain. The cross of Christ is proof that God can take the worst and bring something good from it. And today we're going to continue with the next chapter. And today's a little touchy subject that some of us like and some of us do not like. We're going to talk about forgiveness. Who likes that word, forgiveness? Do you like that word? Some of you do. Some of you do. That's awesome. I don't know a lot of people that love the word forgiveness. It's a very hard word. The action of it is very, very hard. But forgiveness is an interesting subject. It's a touchy subject. And last week I kind of talked about our family tree. If you guys were here, you guys remember? Man, and I know that we all come from, I think we all do, come from a dysfunctional family, right? Is that right? We all come from a family, a broken family. Is that true? You guys with me? We all come from a dysfunctional family, a broken family, and I am no exception. I also come from a dysfunctional family, and a little bit about myself, although you guys maybe don't know a lot about me. I did grow up in Texas, like I told you, but I grew up in a Christian home. I grew up hearing about Jesus. I would be at church every single day. You can imagine, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was there. I would sleep while the pastor would be speaking all the time. It was very comfortable, very cozy to get underneath the pews and go to sleep as the pastor was speaking. And the louder he got, the more comfortable I got, the more cozy I got, and the more I enjoyed the sleep. I grew up in that. I grew up knowing and hearing all about Jesus and his forgiveness. My family also, they were all Christians, and my grandfather was Christian. And I remember one of the things that really marked my life as a child was I started to notice that there was a difference in the love that my grandfather had towards my sister and myself. So it's only my sister and I were only 2. They only had 2 grandchildren. This is from my dad's side. And I began to notice, my sister's older than I, she's about 2 years older than I, but I began to notice there was a difference. There was a difference in the way he acted with me and he acted with my sister. There was a difference even in gifts. Even like I noticed that my sister would always get the gifts and I wouldn't get the gifts. And I remember going to my parents a lot of the times and asking my dad, hey Dad, why does Grandpa like Myra, my sister, more than me? And my dad's like, no, that's not true. You're seeing it wrong. Don't worry about it. And I continued to see this pattern. There was always this preference for my sister. Whenever we would get into an argument, my sister, obviously kids always fight, right? We always fight with our siblings. And there was no exception. My sister and I would always fight. We'd do some stupid things. We would make our parents mad. I would make our grandparents mad. And I remember when those times came when they were mad and angry at us, I would always get the butt of it. I would always get in trouble for it. But more than anything, my grandpa would always say things to me that he wouldn't say to my sister, things like hurtful words. He would say things even about my weight in Spanish. He would say things very, very hurtful in Spanish to me whenever we would get in trouble. And my sister, he would never ever say anything to her. Even if I hit her, he would get upset and he would call my parents. He would say, hey, come pick up this fatso type of thing and take her away from my house. And there was lots of times like that, and I remember beginning to feel that rejection from my grandpa, and I didn't notice that it created a really intense, like a really strong, a really big wound in my heart as a teenager and growing up. Like I was saying, we all have come from a dysfunctional family. You might have a similar story, maybe a different story. There's wounds that happen, there's wounds that are created in our hearts from people that we most love. For people in our family, in this case, from our father, maybe from our mother, maybe from our siblings, in my case, from my grandfather. That hurt a lot to know that my grandfather thought of me as a certain way. And it happens. And sometimes I notice, again, growing up in a Christian home, knowing about Jesus and knowing about his forgiveness, I still carry around a load of unforgiveness in my heart against my grandfather. I carried a wound in my heart that took years and years of trying to heal, that didn't heal. Like, it took years and years for that wound to heal in my life. And not only, there's actually an interesting story in the Bible, and I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but it's a really good story. You guys heard of King David, right? Who's here? Okay, if you haven't, I'm going to give you kind of just a quick recap of this story. It's in 2 Samuel. But King David has he has a son named Absalom, he has another son called Amnon, and he has a daughter named Tamar. And the story says that Absalom was a pretty good-looking person. He had a really, really long hair. You guys remember that part of the Bible? If you don't, it's in there. This guy had really, really long hair, and the Bible really wanted to make it clear that he had beautiful, long hair. I'm sure the girls loved it. He never cut his hair. And it was David, and again, his half-brother named Amnon. Amnon actually falls in love. I don't even think it's love. It's more of an obsession with his sister, Tamar. Amnon fell in love, and the Bible says he fell in love with his sister. And what happens is that his half-brother rapes his sister. Have you guys read that part? No, I don't know why my students tell me the Bible's so boring. It is not boring. This is more intense than a telenovela. Like, seriously, like turn off the telenovela and read 2 Samuel. That is where it is amazing, the stories that it has. So David, his son Absalom, and his son Amnon. Amnon rapes his sister. Absalom finds out and gets very, very angry at this and wants to literally kill his brother. But more than anything, he gets angry with his dad, King David, because King David really does nothing about this. He doesn't do anything. Absalom keeps growing up, and he keeps on having this anger against his dad for this and for what Amnon did to his sister. That one day he sends someone to kill his brother. He kills his own brother for what his brother did to his sister. And the Bible says that because of this created a wound in David's heart, but also in Absalom's heart, that 2 Samuel 14:24 says, "But the king said to David, he must go to his own house. He must not see my face." So Absalom went to his own house and did not see the face of the king. What is this trying to say? That there was a wound in both of their hearts and they did not fix it. I wish I could say that we fixed it, right? That would have been amazing, saying, hey, Absalom repented for killing his brother and went to King David and said, I'm so sorry for killing your son, but it's just something that happened. Like, I was so angry, and I wish I could say that they hugged and they cried and they made up, and it was an amazing story. It didn't happen. They didn't see each other. They didn't talk to each other. There was so much anger for what had happened. And long story short, Absalom gets so angry and continues to feed this wound in his heart that he ends up wanting to overturn David's kingdom and take his position as king and become king. That at the end, Absalom dies during war in this whole trying to take his dad's spot. It's interesting how he dies. Because of his long hair, he was riding a horse, his long hair got stuck on a tree, and he got wrapped up in the tree, and as he's hanging in a tree, so one of David's men comes over, and not only gets one, but gets 3 spears, and stabs him right in the heart, and that's how Absalom's story ends. This is a true story in the Bible, and I think we can learn about this. We can learn about what unforgiveness does in our life. What not dealing with the wound, what it can do in our family. This was a broken family. This family fell apart because of unforgiveness, because they never dealt with it. Even the King David said, you go to your house. I don't want to see your face. We're not going to talk about this. We're not going to deal with this right now. And there's unforgiveness, which again tore this family apart. they weren't able to deal with it. And the truth is, I don't want this to happen to you. I don't want this to happen to me either. I believe that God, first of all, Jesus came to this earth so that we'd be healed, not only of our diseases, not only of our physical sicknesses, but also of our emotions, also of our sickness inside, the things that we have in our hearts. So these are things that, couple of things that I got out of the book and also came up as I was studying this is, number one, there's a couple things that we have to remember that vengeance is not ours, but God's. If you guys want to write that down. Number one, vengeance is not ours, but God's. We have to remember, Romans 12:19 says, do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, it is mine to avenge. I will repay, says the Lord. Our human nature is to always want to get someone back, right? When you're driving and someone cuts you off, what do you want to do? You want to drive next to them and either say, God bless you, or do the other thing that all of us probably want to do, right? Give them the finger, right? Or say something nice. Alec, one of my coworkers, says he goes next to them and gives them a thumbs up to get to know them more. We all want to kind of do something and kind of go around and also cut in front of them so that they can feel what we feel. I was telling the group on Sunday that even at a young age, as kids, we were like that too. I mean, that happened to me too. When I was younger, I had this pool, and I loved having a pool during summer because in Texas it is hot, but not only is it hot, but it's humid. So just think about those days after it rains here in the summer. That's how Houston feels all summer long, right? It's terrible. It's the worst. And then add 20,000 mosquitoes. So during the summer, you want to cool off. You want to be in a pool. And pretty much we didn't have much money, so that's what we could do. Buy a pool and keep that pool and swim every single day. So my mom would always say, hey, you only have one pool this summer. Like, hey, if something happens to it, you're done, right? And yeah, we would swim every single day. And one day I noticed this with pretty water that the water's just not staying. It keeps on it's just like you're sitting there and it's like, oh, it stays right there. It's not going any higher. And I'm like, what? What's going on? I noticed that there's a hole in my pool. Poor Natalie got really angry, really sad. There was a wound in my heart. But I started to think and wonder, how did this happen? And I was thinking of everyone that I allowed to come to my pool. And I'm like, hey, my cousins came, my neighbors come, and they swim too as well. And I'm trying to think, oh wait, I'm trying to find out the story, figure out what happened. And sure enough, I thought in my head, it must have been my friend Caroline, my neighbor. It had to be Caroline. She came yesterday, she was swimming in my pool, she doesn't like me, she must have put a hole in my pool. So Natalie goes to the shed and gets a couple of nails from my dad's shed because he's a roofer, and roofers have tons of nails. I don't know, well, I do know why, because they need nails to put the shingles on. So I grab a couple of nails, I go to my neighbor's house and I knock at her door, and she opens the door. I'm like, hey Caroline, how are you doing? With a little big smile on my face. And she's like, nothing, what's up? She's like, hey, something's wrong with my pool. It has a hole. Can we swim at your pool? And she's like, yeah, sure, come. She's like super nice. So we go out the back and we swim in the pool. We're having a good time. We're just playing and pretending that we're fish, whatever you think that what our kids do, right? You just think, come up with silly stuff, right? So I'm in the pool, and then towards the end, I grabbed the 3 nails, or 3 or 4 nails that I had, and I began to punch holes in this pool, right? And like a bunch of them. As I'm just sitting down and doing this, like this type of thing. Yeah, like I'm just doing this. I'm just having fun. And then I get up and I leave. I'm like, oh, you're my butt. I gotta go. Thank you so much. And I run home, and I felt so good for what I had done. I said, there we go. You're gonna get what is coming to you. It's payback. This is what you get for doing this to my pool. And it felt good. And the truth is, we're like still today as adults. We do want to make sure that people get what they deserve. And say, hey, I want to get some revenge for what you did to me. But we can't do that. We can't do that. We have to remember and give it to God and say, hey, this is you. This is your problem. I don't want to deal with it. Say, hey, it's not mine. Revenge is not mine, but it is yours. Number 2, unforgiveness is poison. So stop drinking it. That's the point today. I I read this and it says, unforgiveness is like drinking poison yourself and waiting for the other person to die. That's what unforgiveness is. And I have a question for you today, and I want you to really think about it. Is your refusal to forgive bringing you peace, or is it bringing you more hurt? And I think if we can all be honest, if you've ever had unforgiveness in your heart, you can probably say that unforgiveness has always brought hurt more than, or hasn't even brought peace. Whoever says that it brings peace is lying, because unforgiveness does not bring peace. And the story of David is one to even is proof of that. There was no peace, it was just brokenness. Number 3, we have the power to forgive, so let's do it. Ephesians 1:18 talks about the power that we have in Jesus. There's another verse that says we have the same power that rose Christ from the dead. That same power that rose Christ from the dead lives in us. It lives in us. So because of that, we have the power to forgive through Jesus Christ. Number 4, forgive like Jesus forgives. Luke 23:34 says, Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. And they divided up his clothes by casting lots. This is Jesus on the cross. As he's dying on the cross, and Jesus says, forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing. Listen, you and I are here because Jesus has forgiven us. He has given us his grace, and he's had mercy on us. And we must learn to forgive as well, just like Jesus forgives. Another thought is is to forgive and bless those that have hurt you. Romans 12:14 says, bless those who persecute you, and bless, do not curse. That's the Apostle Paul talking to the Roman church. And it's crazy because you might read that and say, oh, okay, let's bless those who persecute us, but I don't think we understand the word persecution here in America like they did in those times. When it said those that persecute us, it's talking about those people that were going into homes and taking you, if you were a follower of Jesus Christ, and taking you and killing you in public. And people were just looking and laughing when they would stone you to death. I mean, we saw that whenever it happened to Stephen in Acts. They just grabbed him and stoned him to death in public. That's what it meant. That's what persecution means when Paul was talking about this. And it's crazy because he says, bless them. What? You're telling me that I need to bless those that hurt me? Like, you're crazy. What we want to do is stick out our middle finger for those that pass in front of us. And that's what we want to do. We want to give them a piece of our mind. Like, that's what we want to do. We don't want to bless them, but Paul is saying, bless them. Those that persecute you. Those that want to hurt you. Those that want to harm you. More than anything, those that maybe have already harmed you. Instead of wanting to get vengeance, instead of wanting to pay back and make them feel what you felt, we need to turn around and be like Jesus and say, hey, I'm going to forgive you, but not only that, but I'm going to bless you every single day. And this particular book is talking about our fathers, our dads. Maybe a close one, maybe even your mother. Maybe you might say, hey, I had a great, great father, but maybe your mother, maybe your sibling of yours, maybe in my case, my grandfather. Whenever I started growing up and I started noticing that there were certain things in my life that kind of happened because of the rejection that I felt from my grandfather, I had to learn to forgive him. I remember whenever I remember these thoughts and begin to hate him and say, man, why didn't I have a good relationship? Even to this day, my sister will post about the greatest grandfather that she had that passed away 10 years ago, and I don't do that because I wasn't the greatest grandfather. Sometimes I deal with that. Man, I don't want to post that because he wasn't great. He wasn't awesome to me. He hated me. And I still have to deal with that and also even pray. God, I forgive him. He's not even here anymore, but there's days where I have to say, hey, I forgive him for that rejection. I forgive him for the words that he said to me. I forgive him because those words aren't even true. They're not true. I'm not that. I'm a child of God, and I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. So these are things that we must learn to do. And I wanted to show this video really quick because I actually saw it Sunday or Monday on my day off. I saw it And it was perfect for this message. I was like, hey, let me share this part. It's a very short clip of a sermon from Craig Rochelle. Is that how you pronounce his name? But anyways, take a look at this and then we'll finish after that.
I was 40 years old, and our church won some award, something that felt really significant. I don't even remember what it was at the time, but I do remember the card that I got from my dad, that on the outside it said, "You did good, I knew you would," and then I opened it up, and on the inside he wrote, "Well, Grosh," because he calls me Grosh, watch the baseball language, "Well, Grosh, you're the #1 draft pick by God himself. Welcome to the major leagues. Love, Dad." Here I am all these years later as a grown man with 6 kids of my own, moved deeply by the affirmation and the affection of a man in my life. Some of you are like, well, Craig, I'm so glad you and your dad are tight, and my dad was a jerk. My dad and I are really close today, but it wasn't always that way. The good news is my dad has been sober for over a quarter of a century now. But he wasn't when I was growing up. He wasn't. His problem was alcohol. My problem was anger. Here's what I want you to know, warriors. We're close today. But we aren't close today because we didn't hurt each other. We are close today because we forgave each other. Because the wound healed. And what I know.
Yeah, that was it. So that was the main point there, and I loved hearing that part. It was a great message if you ever want to go watch it on YouTube. But it's the fact that he says we're not close today because we didn't hurt each other. We're close today because we forgave each other. And that's the truth of it. And I don't know what relationship you might have right now that you're just not talking to that person, or maybe there's a wound in your heart that you haven't really dealt with. Trust me, it happened. Like I said, it took me years to realize that I had such a big wound in my heart for my grandfather. Years of realizing that, and it took a lot of courage to be able to say, hey, I forgive you. It took a lot of courage to say, hey, I love you. It took a lot of courage to even every single day now waking up and saying, hey, I forgive him, because it's, remember, forgiveness is a process. It's not an instant thing. It's a process. It's an everyday thing of saying, hey, I forgive that person. God, heal the wounds in my heart. So listen, we cannot move forward until we get these things. Like last week, it was all about Jesus and what he did on the cross. But another thing is for us to move forward, we must let the Holy Spirit, we must allow God to heal our hearts. But we have to do these steps first before we can do that. You guys with me? Yeah, you guys are very quiet. But anyways, let's go ahead and pray really quick, and then you guys can eat. Are they eating tacos today? Yeah, eating tacos. Yeah, take some time with your groups to be honest about stuff, and that's honesty is the only way that one can also move forward, and just being honest with yourself. I've done ministry for a lot of years, and just because you see people in ministry doesn't mean anything. We're in the same boat as you guys. We still have people that we have to forgive. We still have struggles. It's just nothing different. God just chose us for this, but there is nothing different. So let's just go ahead and pray, and then we'll have some time for the Spirit. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for your word, God. Your word is a sword. It says a double-edged sword, Lord. And I believe today that it's just doing something in our hearts, and really just I just pray that you help us today. Just help us realize if we have any wounds in our hearts that we need healed tonight, God. And even as adults, we still deal with this. We still deal with things from our childhood that we haven't dealt with. And we see how unforgiveness, like even in your word with David and his son Absalom, how it destroys families and how it destroys relationships. Unforgiveness does that. Anger does that, God. And we don't want that in our lives. We want to live a healthy life. We want to be healed from the inside out, God. And we want to have healthy relationships, Lord. And I just pray that you help each and every one of us today. Help us have those healthy relationships. Help us love our enemies. Help us bless those that have hurt us, God. But most importantly, help us forgive every single day, Jesus, like you have forgiven us. And we just put all of this in your hands, trusting in you and knowing that you're going to do the work in our hearts, Lord. And like the Lord says, you're going to finish what you have started in us. We're not done, and Lord, we know that you have something special in store for us, Lord. So I bless the young professionals, Lord, and bless their lives, Lord. And I pray that you just be with them this week, and you, Lord, just continue to speak to us during the week, Lord. We thank you in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Guys, have fun with your discussions.